From the heart of America, the nation's #1 progressive voice, where truth and common sense rule. This is the Ed Schultz Show, where America comes to talk. And now, filling in for the boss, our senior legal analyst, Norman Goldman.
Yes, it is silly and it kind of rhymes. Norman Goldman. Kind of dopey. My mom wanted a girl. I was going to be Norma. But it just didn't work out that way. When I was born, we didn't have any of this fancy amniocentesis stuff, so they just had to wait until I popped out and said, sorry, I'm the youngest of 3 boys, so my mom never got a wish for a girl, but we did get a silly rhyme, Norman Goldman. And I am a lawyer, and, I wouldn't be much of a senior legal analyst if I didn't spend a moment talking about the California Supreme Court 10 days ago striking down the gay marriage ban here in California. The state of California, which is the biggest state in the union, has joined Massachusetts in legalizing gay marriage. And, I was waiting for the firestorm, the eruption, and it just didn't seem to happen. It seemed that after Massachusetts did it, everybody kind of freaked out, and the states that were going to do what they were going to do did what they were going to do. And the California Supreme Court has now legalized same-sex marriage, and in about 30 days, we're going to start seeing same-sex marriages. We have a ballot initiative coming up in November that's going to seek to overturn that and reinstitute a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage, which will lead to a very interesting constitutional question. Can you constitutionally do something that the Supreme Court of the state says is unconstitutional? It's a question the U.S. Supreme Court has tried desperately to avoid over the 220-odd years of our existence. And it's a fascinating legal question. Our California Supreme Court, and it's just a matter of state law, so there's no appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. The case is over and the deal is done. The California Supreme Court now has said it is unconstitutional to have a constitutional thing saying gay marriage is illegal. So can you constitutionally overturn a Supreme Court saying something is unconstitutional, and you're reinstituting the same thing they just said was unconstitutional? Now, if that didn't give you an Excedrin headache, 1-877-934-6833. And speaking of controversial social issues, one of the pastors that John McCain sought the endorsement of was John Hagee, and he has since, divorced himself from Pastor Hagee. But one of Pastor Hagee's famous statements was that Hurricane Katrina was God's vengeance upon New Orleans for entertaining the idea of having a gay pride parade. Now, this is not the first time that the wacko fundamentalist Christian lunatics on the extreme right have taken an action that was devastating here on American soil and turned it into some sort of tea leaf reading message from God. No lesser figures than Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson. Right after September 11, 2001, we have cut 11 coming up here, Kelly. Right after September 11, 2001, Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson had this to say about September 11th and God's role in it. Here it is. What
we saw on Tuesday, as terrible as it is, could be minuscule if in fact God continues to lift the curtain and allow the enemies of America to give us probably what we deserve.
Well, Jerry, that's my feeling. I think we've just seen the antechamber to terror. We haven't even begun to see what they can do to the major population.
The ACLU's got to take a lot of blame for this.
Oh, yeah.
And I know I'll hear from them for this, but throwing God, or successfully with the help of the federal court system, throwing God out of the public square, out of the schools. The abortionists have got to bear some burden for this, because God will not be mocked, and when we destroy 40 million little innocent babies, we make God mad. I really believe that the pagans and the abortionists and the feminists and the gays and the lesbians who are actively trying to make that an alternative lifestyle, the ACLU, People for the American Way, all of them who tried to secularize America, I point the finger in their face and say, you helped this happen.
Well, I totally concur.
Now, what you just heard were two voices of mental illness, masquerading and using the Bible and talk of God as cover. To say that Osama bin Laden and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who masterminded September 11th, were doing it because of the abortionists and the ACLU and People for the American Way, this is nuts. Yet everybody jumps on Barack Obama because his pastor says things like goddamn America, when the context was, if America's going to do bad things, then God will damn America.